the timeline of when you heard from Mississippi State and when it kind of got rolling?
Yeah, it happened down in New Orleans during the Final Four. Obviously, there's an NABC convention that goes on with all the coaches there, and I had initial contact, from Scott, through the search agency, and had a chance to sit down and meet with Scott, and that was the first, of our interviews. We had a chance to connect again one more time, and that was a lot more casual, getting a chance to know each other as a person. And then I met with him once again, and then finally I got a chance to meet with the president and Scott as well too for my final meeting. So there was like several meetings in between that time, a lot of talk on the phone between like the search agency and Scott and things like that. So it was a long process, but it happened in a short amount of time.
So when was the
can't go into all the specifics last night meeting with the players, just kind of how that went, how those guys were,
I first of all, I think the guys on the team are good kids. I think they want to be coached. I think they want to figure out, where they fit into it, And I think sometimes when you have a coaching change, guys see their opportunity to do something different than what they were doing before. But I thought the meeting was very positive. I thought it went well. It remains to be seen, like once we get on the court and things like that, how it goes over. But from that initial meeting, I thought it was very positive.
Looking at the point guard situation and Josh Gray, he told me last night he's still going to ask for a release. How important to retain him in this class?
When did you talk to Josh?
Last night.
Okay, I talked to him about 12:30. And so I probably talked to him after you.
Probably so.
He was really good. He said that he was open to me coming down and sitting face to face and getting a chance to know me. We talked about basketball. We talked about his role. I talked to a couple people that's very close to Josh and, got a chance to meet them. And he says, hey, Coach, I'm really open to coming down and meeting you because, you signed with Mississippi State, and I know there's a coaching change and things like that, but you still signed up to be a Bulldog, and it's still going to be a good situation for you. So I think he's a little bit different than what you talked to him after I talked to him.
What was your thoughts when you saw the signings that they already have, when you saw them on paper and got to talk?
Well, I'm always familiar with what's going on because, recruiting is your lifeblood. So, whether you're at Clemson or you're at Mississippi State, players. And I think they did a very good job of going out and get some guys. Now, a couple guys I don't know as well as I know the other players and things like that, but, my job is to go out and find them. Now, whether those guys are 3-star guys or 5-star guys, I want to be committed to them because they committed to Mississippi State.
Rick, there's kind of been some player discipline issues the last couple of years. I'm sure you've probably seen the fight in the stands in Hawaii a couple of years ago. Just kind of what's your approach to player discipline and just how do you go about that, make sure that stuff doesn't happen?
Yeah, the first thing is everybody has a clean slate with me. I'm not going to hold any sort of past transgressions against anybody at this point in time, and I told those guys that, My thing is, we talk about player accountability. It's player accountability on the court and player accountability off the court. So, I told those guys about that and what we're going to do, and, I have to be in tow with what I want. And if they can't do that, then we'll start having problems. But I'm not really big as far as, worrying about discipline because it's never been a problem because, it's going to be hard and difficult in our program if you don't do the right things.
Do you see part of your job right now initially to help restore the image of MEC basketball has taken a hit the last couple of years?
Well, I don't know if it's my job solely because I put that more on the kids than anything. I think the kids are good guys, and I think as a whole, most kids want to be disciplined, and I think it's I just think we got to make sure we don't, hold these kids accountable for what happened in the past. I think we need to make sure we give them a clean slate and see how they progress as a person.
When you got in here and you saw